And we're live. Hello, everyone. Time to make your decision. Mike.
Here's my shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but there you go.
Oh, boy. Very nice.
That's my candidate.
I'm wondering, were they doing a lot of construction around Independence Hall last night? Because there was a lot of gravel in Bruce Springsteen's voice.
Here's the thing about it. There's somebody in my house that was there, right?
I almost went. We didn't go.
A friend came by, and so I listened to just a snippet of Thunder Road, and it seemed like he took the long way around Thunder Road. And when I confirmed that, it was a very long, drawn-out version with not a lot of energy.
He took a
thrill with that. Now
he took a detour from Thunder Road.
Yeah. Now here's the thing.
For those of you who don't know, these guys are just tearing me apart because I'm a Springsteen fan.
No. Listen, I think it's great that he was out there, but people were saying he could have used more energy. Now, on the Lady Gaga Bon Jovi front, Living on a Prayer sounded pretty good. I thought that was good.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing you're thinking about Thunder Road about Living on a Prayer. So
yeah. But I was not thrilled with Lady Gaga wearing a Nazi outfit. I don't care if it was Michael Jackson's suit, that he owned, whatever. It's never. Let's put it this way: Nazi is never fashionable.
Well, if she was wearing a Nazi uniform, she may have belonged at a Trump rally. But no, I mean,
she was probably trying to prove that point of being anti that. But it's just not a good day to wear it. It's never a good day to wear it.
Was it the Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation get up, or all I know is that you had Springsteen, Bon Jovi, Lady Gaga, Hillary Clinton calling her Gaga like she's best buddies with her, which I thought was hilarious. Katy Perry. How much more crappy music can they get at one place?
Oh, it wasn't crappy, but the point was that nobody felt like Springsteen had his A game, and that's the feeling that Mike and I have now why we won't pay big money for him. That's really just the...
That's not Springsteen. That's Springsteen and a guitar. I mean, God, the whole.
But that's still Springsteen. What do you mean it's not Springsteen?
No, I mean, that's not why you're not going to go see him.
I heard him do Dancing in the Dark, and somebody in local radio was playing the song, and it sounded like he had overdosed on Quaaludes and he had sung Dancing in the Dark.
Many people out there right now know that you guys are idiots. So
we're going to switch topics real quick.
To let you go with it. Continue talking. Continue saying your thing. Go ahead.
Because Mike's Buffalo Bills really got screwed. I really had it with the NFL. I really have. It's gotten to the point now where all players do is sit up and try and read the rule book and how to circumvent it because Bill Belichick made an art out of it. So there were a couple plays in yesterday's game. The first one was a play where they basically ran into the kicker, and it's not a penalty.
Yeah,
it was totally fine. And then when they go to reset the ball, they don't reset the clock. So then all of a sudden, the Bills had their trainers out there because they thought their kicker's hurt. They're like, no. He's got to make the kick. Then they call that stupid timeout for the kick. And so he makes the field goal. It doesn't count. Even after all this BS, because it was only a 5-yard penalty, right, for the other thing, because it was not called roughing the kicker. It was just called interference or whatever they called it.
Running into the kicker. And then the next time he misses the kick. And I'm thinking, you know what? If this were a quarterback and you had players doing this, it would be crazy. And then, of course, at the end of the game, the NFL tried to explain that one away. And there was a clear interference in the end zone. There's a GIF of it where, and I forget, Mike, who's the player's name? It's Richard Sherman.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, who also was the other play, who also tries to sell himself as he's smarter than the rest of the league, but he's not a dirty player. He is a dirty player. Yeah. And he just literally 12 yards in, the guy goes into the end zone. He pushes the receiver down. There's no call, no pass interference. Everybody in the world saw it but the referees. And so the NFL can blame their bad ratings or their weakening ratings. It's never bad.
No, they're pretty bad.
The election or people kneeling. But it's really because the product stinks and nobody knows the rules anymore.
Yeah, and there was a producer of Monday Night Football on one of the Toronto radio stations yesterday, and he offered like some really ridiculous excuses for the reason why the ratings were low, and maybe after the election, or I'll only be concerned if the ratings in the playoffs go down. No, the product is getting worse.
the player, your star players are getting hurt all the time. A guy like Sammy Watkins gets hurt for the Bills. He was probably their best player. He's gone for the year. You can't get to be a fan of a player unless his name is Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's the only one who stays healthy all the time.
Trump supporter Tom Brady, by the way.
What's that?
Trump supporter Tom Brady, by the way.
Well, no,
we don't know that.
Yeah, no, we do know that. Trump came out the other day and said it.
No, but he came out and said it. Brady hasn't. So
it's got to be true if Trump said it. Come on.
Well, here's the thing. I also want to say this. I'm going to kill the History Channel because I'm a fan of the American Picker Show. And I heard yesterday Trump's camp saying, we're going to have to change the commercial where we talk about the email scandal for the FBI, because clearly that's not the case. They didn't do it. It ran last night with the same rhetoric.
You should be in Pennsylvania. It's playing every couple minutes. I mean,
and that's my point is the channels that accept the money for that should really, really, really look themselves in the mirror, and they should have canned the ad and taken the money and sent the check back.
Yeah.
Because that's baloney.
Last thing. I was blown away by this, and I found out from somebody who does work at CBC that they do this every 4 years. The CBC is covering the U.S. election tomorrow. I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, not like for half an hour. They're doing like 4 hours of coverage.
It matters. It matters to Canada.
I know, but it's it's not like it's CNN and CNN's
No, it's important up there. I mean, I got more people giving the opinions that are Canadians than Americans sometimes on this thing.
Oh, I got real estate. I know real estate people up in Canada that are hoping that Trump wins because they'll be able to sell all their vacant property.
Yeah. They call it the Fed. In Canada, they call us the Fed. And really, what happens here does directly affect their economy. It does.
I mean, our economy going sour is not a great idea for them.
No.
I mean, anyway, so let's move on. Let's
ring the bell.
Let's definitely move on.
Let's talk hockey.
So I take it you lost the hammer.
I did. I can't find it. I got to clean my office. Sorry. Hello, Hockey World. It is Tuesday, November 8th. I knew that. 2016.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund. And you're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com now with less political talk. Coming to you live from the battleground state of Pennsylvania. And that's not, and that's, I don't mean political. I just mean, they've got a great rivalry.
Technically, you live in Pennsylvania. That's what they're, when they talk about the different places, the different, what do they call them?
I live in
precincts.
I live in, Montgomery County, which is, if you listen to like guys like Michael Schmerkanish or people like that he lives in Montgomery County. Montgomery County is the place that, you will see CNN go on. They'll say, what Trump's looking for is the suburban Montgomery County educated women. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, hey, that's you.
The collar counties of Philadelphia are considered like the moderate middle of the road of the country and a bellwether of what's going to happen. And
we have friends. I mean, we have friends who are on. We're going to a party.
On the show. Goodbye, Allie.
Here we go. We're going to a party later tonight. And I'm a little afraid to go to it, honestly, because there's people there that are going to be for both sides, and it's like it takes guts to throw a party tonight. I said I'm only going for like a little bit because my wife's like, we have to go. They came to our party, but I don't really.
I hope they're not watching.
I don't think it's a good idea to. Yeah, no, they're not watching. But no, I don't think it's a great idea to throw a political party on this night. I mean, last night we did have fun though. We didn't go to the elections, but we did have a good time. We didn't go to the rally in Philadelphia. We couldn't, but we had a good time anyway with watching everything on television.
No.
All right, so let's move on. Now the Vancouver Canucks, we have to discuss that because they have now lost 9 straight games. Okay, now it's
a bad road trip.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the definition of a bad road trip. I would say.
They started out the season 4-0, but if I remember correctly, 3 of them they never led until they won in overtime or shootout.
No, that's right. Remember they had that crazy record that they weren't leading any games. Well, now they haven't led many games since then either.
So it wasn't exactly an awe-inspiring winning streak. And it's funny because I looked at Ryan Miller's stats before the Saturday night game they played against Buffalo. was 1-4 in his last 5 games. His save percentage was over 930. His goals against was under 2. His team had scored 3 goals for him in 5 games. So it's not their defense. It's not their goaltending.
Not Miller.
The fact that they can't score. And right now, Louis Eriksson is on the level of Andrew Ladd as a bust of a free agent.
Yeah, and that's surprising because they really, I thought that was going to work, and they looked good in the World Cup of Hockey together, that line.
Well, I mean, I thought it would work to a degree, but, I mean, let's not overrate Louis Eriksson because, I mean, he is that kind of player where, again, when he went in the Sagan deal, I wasn't thrilled for Boston because even though he might score 25 goals, he doesn't like get key goals. I never see Louis Eriksson winning a lot of games, and so I'm going to be one of those guys that say, he doesn't score at the right time. He does seem to be one of those guys.
I agree with that. And does my microphone sound okay?
Is what?
Does my microphone sound
Yes.
okay? Okay, I wasn't sure because I realized I was getting picked up before by my computer and not by my fancy mic here, which should sound better now. Okay, so if not, then this is a real.
No, it sounds great.
This is a real waste of money. If not, all right. So
the replay is going well. So
okay, that's phew. Okay,
See,
so
folks, now we double check and triple check. Thanks.
we do. We're careful. All right. So yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about Eriksson too, and I think you're right. You can overvalue him. I do still think it was a halfway decent signing for them, but at the end of the day, this Vancouver Canucks team is a young team trying to still hang on to old players, right? So what's happening is they're one of these donut teams where you have no one in their late 20s, like basically, like you have all these players that are early 20s, players that are mid 30s or early 30s, no one in their mid to late 20s. And that's tough when you have that situation. That teams tend to not do well when they have that situation.
You've got one guy, Brandon Sutter, who's in his 20s,
right. But he's the outlier. So teams struggle when they have this. This is not uncommon.
But this is a symptom of a team that should have rebuilt, that didn't rebuild because ownership wanted them to contend because they were spending $14 million on the Sedins,
right?
Who basically you can't trade because they have no move clauses and they're in their mid-30s. But other guys like Miller, like Alex Burrows, you could trade. I mean, if you're stuck with the Sedins, but you know that you have to rebuild, there are pieces that you can move Alex Edler.
They can't tell their fan base that yet. That fan base is not ready to hear that.
I think their fan base is getting close to hearing that because when they see the crap that they put out there the last 9 games, I think they've come to the realization this team is not going to win the way it's currently constituted.
No, but I mean, they won 4 in a row. They lost 9 in a row. Would it shock you if they all of a sudden won 4 in a row again? It just seems like this is going to be that kind of team until they either players get a little bit more experience and do score a little better, or they just fall to the bottom. It is going to be one way or the other. There's no question about it.
True. All right, I want to get on to the Islanders as well because more rumors are surfacing today. They
did have a good win last night, though. They
did. Within my contacts, who are saying the Islanders are really trying to make a move and a creative move at that, which is always a sign of a team that's trying to do something that like a 3-way deal or something along those lines. Right. So, which are hard to pull off, obviously very hard to pull off. But Garth Snow is the kind of guy who has tried this before, and I don't know, I can't remember. I was trying to remember if he had actually ever pulled off a 3-way trade. I think he thought he had for some reason in my recesses of my memory, but
I can't think of one.
But yeah, he's definitely the kind of guy who can do it. He's trying to pull it off. They are not. I mean, as much as Capuano, I don't think that Capuano is going to be the sacrificial lamb on this team.
I still do.
You do. I don't get that yet. Just from talking, that could change, of course, in minutes. But talking to people so far, I haven't yet. I mean, the only thing I've heard, like I said yesterday, is I've heard Capuano complaining a little bit more about stuff, but not them complaining about him yet.
Well, they scratched Barzal and they scratched Beauvillier yesterday.
So not just yesterday. Barzal's been like a month now.
Oh, I know that, Russ. I'm just saying both of them. So as we were discussing yesterday, when you have kids who are first-round picks and they're not playing every day, if you can send them to the AHL, do that. But if you can't, you send them back to junior. You're not doing them any favors. But if you look at what Garth Snow is probably aiming at, he's got to find a more successful answer to being on the wing with John Tavares, because obviously Ladd is not working. I think he still, I don't know what he did last night, but
he scored a goal last night.
He scored a goal. Okay, so he's got a goal and an assist in 13 games.
Yeah.
Not exactly a
He's trending up, Mike.
Oh,
Trending up, yeah. No, I agree. And I think that what's happening, they are looking for that. And in order for them to do that, they're going to have to do something pretty significant, which means they're going to have to move somebody like Strome or somebody along those lines. And, I continue to hear, I heard interest with Strome in the Leafs. I heard and the weird thing is, that the Leafs are really looking for defense, right? So, that's the first thing you would consider.
I would tell you this: if Ryan Strome had a chance to play with Mitch Marner, that would be a good pairing, because Strome has a little bit more grit than Marner, but he also has the hands and the speed to work well with a guy like that. Maybe that's why he hasn't worked so well with Tavares, because Tavares doesn't have the speed. He's got everything else. And I think that would be actually a good partner for him.
I don't know where Ryan Strome fits with the Leafs right now as they're currently constituted, unless you're talking about first of all, the Leafs are at 50 contracts, so it can't be a deal where it's like 2-for-1 with the Leafs taking back 2 players.
No.
Somebody like a Van Riemsdyk, if that was the guy that the Islanders.
Yeah, that's the kind of player they're looking for.
Well, right, but the thing is, it would have to be probably more bodies going to the Islanders, because the Leafs are at 50 contracts. They're not. I don't think they're trading Johnny Boychuk. They're not trading Nick Leddy. Travis Hamonic is out for 6 weeks.
No, but they probably would trade Dal Cole. They probably would throw him in a deal, and I'm sure the Leafs would be interested in a guy like Dal Cole, because again, they don't have a player like that right now. I
think that's fair. And the Kings are still involved as well. The Kings are playing well, but they are trying to do something. I again heard, since I wrote my blog, and I'm going to have to add this in there, the concept of the Coyotes trying to get Strome out of there, and that's something, that would go. Now I don't know. I don't see anybody in Arizona though that helps the Islanders scoring wise. So again, this could be a 3-way trade.
There's plenty of guys. If they got Anthony Duclair, there's guys.
There's guys that are available. Where we could sit there and say maybe Van Riemsdyk could be available.
Would they trade for Radim Vrbata? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Vrbata, Martin Hanzal with a year left in his contract.
Yeah, maybe Martin Hanzal.
Perhaps. Yep. That was something. I'm positive the Coyotes would move Hanzal.
But if the Leafs are talking trade with the Islanders, it would have to be, one of those blue liners. And I don't think that Calvin DeHaan or Thomas Hickey is something that really advances the ball for the Maple Leafs. Maybe Pulick, but I don't think they're going to trade Pulick. So unless you're talking one of those top 3 defensemen or Pulick, the Leafs are. I don't think the Leafs are really interested in what the Islanders have to unless they're trading John Tavares, which they're not, of course. I'm just saying, it's like, I like Ryan Strome. I like some of their young players. I don't like right now. The Leafs are top heavy with forwards, and they have the AHL Player of the Month in Brendan Leipzig and Kasperi Kapanen, a first-round pick down in the minors, waiting for a spot. They don't have a spot because there are too many forwards up with the Leafs right now. So unless it's defense, I don't see a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone brought up on where I read it a really interesting thing about the Leafs.
They do have defensemen, though. Like a Scott Mayfield could walk in and do some good things for the Leafs. He's a way better version of Marinson. So there's some potential, but you're right.
That's not saying much, Russ. He's a better than
no. But he is.
Yeah, what you don't know is who likes who. Like if somebody in that organization likes somebody on the Islanders, that's what it comes down to. We can sit there and do our Monday morning quarterback comparing player to player, but when young players, it comes down to like a certain scout really liking somebody, and he's going to go for that player, even though we would say that player is pretty much comparable to this guy. So it really depends on who likes who. And, a person did bring up something really interesting on Reddit about the Leafs that I thought was worth mentioning. And that is that the Leafs have just under $25 million in dead cap space at the moment. How about that? That's a crazy number.
It's actually more. It's $27 million.
27?
$27 million. With Matt Hunwick on the IR, they have $27 million in either IR or demoted contracts.
That's astonishing, isn't it?
Like Mahalik, Lupul,
Kessel's still on there.
No, Kessel is money.
But no, it's dead cap space.
It's retained. Yeah, it's retained money, and
Right.
and they have the buyout from Tim Gleason for another.
It's Gleason, McCulloch, you have Greening, like Kessel.
By the way, is Brandon Press still skating with the team?
Lupo Rabidas.
Yes.
Lupo Robidas, Horton, Hunwick.
That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy
So
numbers.
how long is Brandon Press going to hang around until he gets a deal?
Well, he didn't skate with him yesterday, but he up to the weekend he had, and probably still will until he finds. I think there's a deal coming because you've got situations like Josh Levo sent down for a long-term injury AHL stint, and that ends at the end of the week. They have to make a waiver choice on him. They have Hunwick coming back, so they have too many bodies, and a lot of them, maybe some of them are not quality bodies, but they're gonna have to make decisions.
Yeah. I was looking into this. I don't know if I couldn't find this anywhere on Twitter or Reddit or anything like that. So I was curious if you guys had heard about it. It was texted me that Grossman was put on waivers.
Yes.
Okay, so Nick Grossman, right? Nick Grossman.
I mean, at this point, unless this were the playoffs and you just needed an extra guy in case a guy gets hurt, regular season, it's hard to use Nick Grossman.
Don't you think this is the right guy for Toronto, though? I mean, I think if I'm Toronto, I would look at it.
Too slow. I mean, their defense is slow enough.
All right. I mean, I think that it gives. I don't know.
I don't think the Leafs' defense is slow, except for.
I do. I
don't think it's slow either.
I think certain pairings are slow. I mean, look, anybody with Riley is fine, but I don't think their bottom pairing's fast. I don't.
Well, I mean, Marinson isn't fast. He isn't tough. I don't know what he is. He's just there. Roman Polak is below average. But the rest,
so that's.
But they're not. But Russ, they're not going to sit Roman Polak.
No, but I'm just saying, if you're asking me to analyze it, their bottom pairing is slow compared to other pairings that they have and to the rest of the league.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think speed's their answer. That speed's their problem, though. I think is what we're saying. I mean, they are slower, but
but the problem is if they add Grossman, they will slow down even more.
Here's a really good public service announcement, guys. And this is that Gary Thorne is calling the Kings Maple Leafs game tonight on and you can get this. Someone said you can get this through Fox Sports Go.
Yeah,
you can stream it there, which I didn't even realize. First of all, a couple things. First of all, I didn't realize Fox Sports Go was something that you could was a way of streaming NHL games, which is, I guess,
if you have it in your package.
If you have a cable subscription, so that's just kind of unique to me. I mean, we do have it.
I just found that out recently myself.
Here's actually the other interesting thing about Fox Sports Go is Fox Sports Go is part of the Sling TV service, which is not Slingbox, but Sling TV, which is a different thing. And also the PlayStation View, which is actually what I did. I got rid of cable and I use PlayStation View as my cable now, which is amazing. And like half the price of cable. So, and the Fox Sports Go is on there too. And on Sling TV, this is something that, Sling TV you can subscribe to. It's really, I think it's like the cheapest is like $40 a month. You know what's on Sling TV? They just added the NHL Network, which is really interesting. Wow. So there's a way of streaming the NHL Network, which I don't think was possible before that.
Well, this is all like they've been Bob Miller is the one who's ill for the Kings, right? And they've been filling in for him, and so like Gary Thorne's filled in, Jiggs McDonald has filled in, and so they've done a nice job of getting guys back in the fold. I hope this gets Gary Thorne a job somewhere. I hope somebody realizes he would be one of the best, if not the best. Sorry, Doc Emmerich, in the sport.
I know, and those of us who grew up on ESPN, and he was just that's Gary Thorne and Bill Clement. That was, or who played NHL, not NHL.
No, it was a fantastic tandem, and I get that it was 30 years ago, and I'll even show. Look, is there probably some Met bias because he was in the Mets booth when they won in the 80s? Sure, but the guy's good. End of the day, the guy is good.
Yeah, he's doing Baltimore Orioles play-by-play, so he's right. I mean, during the baseball season. So yeah, I mean, he could do like Howie Rose. He could do hockey, but I don't know.
I just think that I really like Gary Thorne as
he's a tremendously nice guy. He loves the sport. Like this isn't just like a thing for him.
Yep.
He
No,
loves
for sure.
the sport.
He does, and that's true with a couple. Like we talked about Butchergrass at ESPN too. There's a couple of people at ESPN and Bill Clement too. Who now, does the Flyer stuff, but, was definitely a big part of that as well. So
Bill Clement, if you see him before a game, he is literally just happy to be in the building.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to believe considering how good he was. And look, he was a decent player, right? But he, to me, made more of an impact as an announcer than
no question. And he was, he was very good. And I mean, if for those of you who might remember my Flyer Buzz TV show where I had Bill Clement do stuff on that, he was great on that. And there's a couple segments where we had Bill Clement breaking down film with guys like Mike Richards and Braden Coburn and Jeff Carter. And I remember we did some where it was just Bill Clement and like a teleprompter and the player there. And Clement would see things. All we would do is this, like how I would do it. I'm like, okay, Bill, here's the tape of the game, and he would just watch the game within, and an hour later would have like 5 things. He's like, okay, go to this point, this point, this point. And they would be things that I never even realized it was happening. And that's me. Like what we would do is we would have somebody isolate, Comcast would isolate a player for the entire game.
Right.
And the one thing I will never forget, that there are 2 things he brought up that were just amazing. One was with Mike Richards, and it was a play in which and you see it now all the time. You guys might know about it. I didn't know about it. I'm sure there's people out there who didn't know about it. That when a guy, so if you were behind a player who's in front of you, and the other team is breaking the other way, that a player on his own team will actually take their stick and push the player forward in front of them and give them like a head start, or fling them kind of like almost like a slingshot sometimes, like you would do in the old skating thing where you would whip a guy around.
Yeah, like in roller derby.
Yeah, and players do that in the NHL. And once I've told you this, you'll actually see it every game. Yeah. But like I never even thought about it until Bill Clement pointed it out, and he saw it one time. And he also was the one who picked out, that Kimmo Timonen would always sit at one point on the bench behind the door because he was too short and he didn't want to go over the boards. So they knew that and there's little things like that Clement and the mouth guard thing. The guys had the mouth guard that would actually store it in the top of their glove. I remember Clement there was like things that Clement would pick out that was just like, what the heck?
Yeah, he's really sharp.
He's incredibly sharp. So, and a good friend of Hockey Buzz. So definitely, and the kind of guy that if you see him on the concourse,
just say hi to him. He
will talk to you. He won't just say hi to you. He'll actually sit there and find out and ask you something about yourself, how you're doing.
Yeah.
He's legitimate. He's legit, 100% legit. All right. So, Jacob Trouba. Okay. Jacob Trouba signed a deal yesterday, that looks like a deal to be traded, it from all indications, and he of course came out and said, I signed that paper to be here for 2 years. I've rescinded my trade request, which is what you have to do.
Right.
We all sit there and talk about that's what he's got to do. Right.
Yeah.
So,
you're not going to sign that deal, and the club's not going to be happy with it if you say the minute you sign the deal, I still want to be traded.
Right. It's a really small deal for him. Like as far as money goes, it's surprisingly.
Well, first off, we should say, is anybody shocked at this? Because remember, I said I thought it would be 2 or 3 years and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, did anybody think that anything else was going to happen?
No, but 2 or 3 years. If you had told me it was going to be 2 or 3 years, with each year under $4 million and 1 year under 3, I would have been really surprised.
That's why it's a 2-year deal and not.
But even then, I think.
I mean, because all right, he had gone through his entry-level deal. 3-year deal takes him 1 year away from unrestricted free agency, 1 year of arbitration rights. Here, he can sign an extension either with Winnipeg or the team he's traded to, which I think is more likely, next July, because it's 1 year within 1 year of
right.
So that's perfect. And apparently Kurt Overhart and the Jets, Kevin Cheveldayoff met in Detroit when Winnipeg was going through Detroit. I think it was last week, and hammered this out. And the thing is, it makes sense from Trouba's point of view if the end goal is to be traded, because he will get that big contract with another team. If he's still in Winnipeg, he's just going to take the arbitration for 1 or 2 years, and then they lose him for nothing after I think it's 2019 or 2020. So this is a smart deal because it doesn't cost Winnipeg a ton. It's a very manageable cap figure, which will get more back in a trade. And he clearly does not want to be there. He just can't say that because
long term. He doesn't want to be there long term. That's pretty obvious.
Right now, he doesn't want to be. Right now, yeah, that's obvious right now. But
that could change too.
Yeah, and this is what I was trying to say. We had a text back and forth this morning. And this is what I was trying to say is I do believe a lot of times these things happen. And the best example I guess we can go is just Torres, right? Kyle Torres, who signed a deal with the
Phoenix.
with Phoenix, right, at the time, the Coyotes,
Yeah.
and knowing that he was going to get traded, right, and that was, and you know, the agent knew that.
Same agent.
Yeah, this is different. Okay, this is different than Torres in some ways, not always, and it could turn out to be the exact same thing. But this, in this situation, first of all, Phoenix was not looking like they were going to be a really strong team in the next couple of years. And the players in Phoenix really didn't care about Kyle Torres. I mean, Torres had come from another place. Remember, he was only there briefly. Winnipeg, you know, Torres was Ottawa, right, and then ended up in Phoenix for.
No. He was a third overall pick of Phoenix.
Oh, he started with Phoenix, right, and then went to Ottawa.
Then I think he held out, and then he signed, and then
Right.
2 weeks later he was traded. So
right. Okay, so but it wasn't like, I don't think it's exact. Like Trouba spent more time playing with Winnipeg than Torres played with that Phoenix, right? Like,
Torres completed his entry level, but he had never been given a primary role
right.
with Phoenix.
Okay, so there are maybe it's a little more similar than I thought. But my thinking here is this: that you have Torres. I know Winnipeg wants him to stay there, and this is the players I've talked to there that want him to stay there. Trouba. Sorry. Trouba. I know there are players who want Trouba to stay in Winnipeg. Okay.
Players love him. There's no question about it.
Players love him, and the management likes him as well, and they want him to stay there too. Right now, he says he doesn't want to stay there. However, I do believe that this is the case where you could see him stay there if the team continues to progress, and if he starts to like it there, which is possible.
It all will depend on sort of where he plays. If they don't stick him with Mark Stewart, like
Right.
those kind of things are going to matter for the next contract or for the next time he comes up in trade talks, because he's still going to come up in trade talks. This is not going to stop things. At the draft, you will hear Jacob Trouba's name bandied around. You're gonna.
True. Very true.
There's no way around it.
Right.
I agree, and he's up. That is definitely the case, and you know how that plays out from here, we don't know, right? But I do think that I just get a sense that this is going to be that people are assuming that him being traded is a little bit premature in this particular case. I don't know.
Well, in the short term, like I said, in the short term, this is helpful to both sides because Winnipeg gets the player back, gets him on the ice. He gets to prove his worth again, because when you're sitting for that long. And the thing is, there was a deadline, December 1st for both teams. I don't think Trouba wanted to throw a year of his career away on this. So getting signed or getting traded were the only two options.
Well, I also think they were watching games like when I saw the Ranger game against Winnipeg, and had they had a little more defense, could have possibly won that game.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the one point that you made when we were discussing earlier, Ak, that I don't think is a factor is, he may be popular with his teammates. I don't think the potential of the Winnipeg Jets down the line means diddly. I think it's like where he wants to play and where he gets paid.
I don't know about that.
And neither do I. But I'm just saying. Sometimes I think it's overestimate. Well, this is a young and upcoming team. Why would anybody want to leave the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, no. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is overestimated. I agree. But and often with players like Trouba, particularly like here's a competitive guy. Like he's not your normal money grabbing guy. He really wants to be on a competitive team.
Oh, he loves to play. This guy loves the sport.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a little different than some players. I would say, it doesn't matter if they're
not a job to him.
No,
and I think that's why if Winnipeg, I think is heading in the right direction, and I think that they've got a good young team together.
I think they're heading in the right direction too. But if you look at since they've moved to Winnipeg, the one and only time they've made the playoffs, they basically didn't lose a game from the end of February to the beginning of the playoffs, and they went out in four straight to Anaheim. So unless this, Patrick Laine may be a superstar, they've got some good players there, but unless that team puts it together and makes some sort of move to get that team to a higher level, it's always going to be a struggle to get into the playoffs. And maybe that's a factor in the sense that Trouba wants to go someplace where it's not going to be as much of a struggle to get in the playoffs and prove your worth in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry, I got a text there from somebody.
That's okay. At the end of the day, for right now, it's exactly what Winnipeg needs. Cheverdayoff clearly saw what we were seeing in what the team was lacking in 6 months or 8 months, if Josh Morrissey were to make giant strides and there were phone calls made at the draft, could Winnipeg management go up to Jacob Trouba and say, hey, I know what we said here, but we've got a terrific offer? Yeah, could I see him getting traded? Absolutely. That's all.
I apologize.
That's okay. It's
there's
still
something
a
going
business.
on here. So something going on here. So give me 1 second, guys. Continue.
Okay.
No, but it's still a business. At the end of the day, Trouba knows it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, and in the interim, Russ, I know that Tyler Myers is hurt right now. Trouba skated today with the team. I don't know if they're going to throw him right in right away. Maybe they give him a day or two to sort of get acclimated. But while Myers is out, he probably will play right defense, which is the position he wants to play.
Right.
But when Myers comes back, unless they want to put Jacob Trouba on a third defensive pairing, he's going to be playing the position that he doesn't want to play.
Well, I mean, again, he'll deal with that, and that's why, and hence the short-term deal, you know.
Right. He's got no other option right now. He's under contract. He can't walk out, so he's going to play left defense. But they have to realize this is a player who doesn't like the position that he's playing, and now probably doesn't like the contract that he just signed.
Here's what I liken it to. Yoenis Cespedes right now is a free agent in baseball, right? He opts out of his deal every year. He's sort of like a throwback, and he keeps signing 1-year deals, even though they sound like 3-year deals, because he always has an opt-out, which is fine. Teams like it. He likes it. It makes him play better. It's a good thing. Now, here's the thing.
He's MLB's Alexander Semin.
Yeah, when he was with, but he produces. That's the only difference. But when he was with the Mets 2 years ago, well, actually, no, really this year, he started getting a little bit of a balky knee, and even though he plays a great center field, even though he plays a great right field, he basically went to the Mets and said, hey, just put me in left field. If that's okay with you guys, I just want to play left field. They did that, and now when they negotiate with him again, that's going to be pretty favorable. Now, if they would have just said, hey, you're playing center field, tough, you're under contract, or you're playing right field, tough, you're under contract, well, when that next contract comes up, that works against you. And Winnipeg knows that.
Yeah, it gives them leverage in a sense.
All right, so there might be some news going in Vancouver. This is the text I just got. I'm chasing, and I'm gonna have to look into it more when we go when the podcast ends in about 10 minutes or so. I don't know if this is a coaching change, but something big is coming. I was told, so just stay tuned on that one. Also,
anything is possible there. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I've heard the coach, was in trouble as it was before he lost. Like that was 5 games ago. So,
well, and this is the thing. If they throw Willie Desjardins under the bus, then clearly ownership and management have lost sense of reality because they're thinking this team is better than they're playing, and we have what it takes to make the playoffs. And I simply think they're out to lunch. This team finished 28th in the NHL last year. 28th.
Yeah.
The only 2 teams that were worse were Edmonton and Toronto.
I agree, and I actually think Desjardins is a really good coach. So I mean, I think there's a guy who the Desjardins being available could change things in other places. If he is fired, it could change some other situations.
It could. I just don't see the sense in it. I just don't. I mean, it's just.
I definitely don't see the sense in it. Yeah, either. I agree with you.
They're starting over again, essentially, but they're starting over again with a core that they can't move.
Yeah, this
right.
Familiar with Anaheim? I mean, it's like so you can't. You're very limited for the next coach that you bring in because he's got to motivate the 30-something-year-old guys getting into their mid to late 30s and teach the young guys. It's a tough mix.
Yeah.
And if it is Desjardins, I'll give you who probably the leading candidate is for that job. It probably will be Travis Green.
Yeah.
Who's coaching their AHL affiliate in Utica.
And he's been the hot name for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
That would be fine. From Travis Green's perspective, it's a great job because there's going to be 0 expectations when he walks in.
Yeah. I mean, although you could say they're I don't know if that's necessarily the case in Vancouver ever.
Well, at least to start, because I don't know if you're a Vancouver fan, and I know some people in the market. I think Mike was partially right when he said they probably lowered expectations now after this 9-game losing streak. So I think they will have a sort of like an even keel to them, and I think Green will have a very long rope. But I just think this is not the right thing to do to Desjardins because this really isn't on him.
No, I agree with that. I agree. And I do think, the Islanders, I know it's not going to happen with Michel Therrien, but I think Willie Desjardins would be a great coach in Montreal. I think that would be a perfect fit for him, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything this year.
They're not doing anything with Therrien right now, but the Islanders could be an interesting one. That would be an interesting place.
Just consider this. The Sedins are under contract for one more year at $7 million.
Yep.
Louis Eriksson is in year one of a 6-year, $36 million contract. Alex Burrows and Ryan Miller are UFAs at the end of this year. So if they decide to go to the rebuild model, they can trade both of those guys and retain salary. And they're only retaining salary on Roberto Luongo right now, so they can salary on those two guys and move them. But you got other bad deals on this Derek Dorsett making $2.65 million.
They do have some bad deals, but because they do have some really good young talent, like they'll bring in Demko and have him be the backup to Markstrom. That's still pretty good goalie tandem. I mean,
it's very good.
I also believe here, and I've talked to some people about this, that if the Jonathan Quick situation doesn't work out, where they say they might have to give him the entire year or something like that to recover, that's Ryan Miller's spot, right? I mean, that makes perfect. Yeah, it's perfect fit for him.
Although LA would really have to give them a tremendous amount. I mean, you got to remember Jim Benning's background is scouting. And he is not going to accept a lowball offer for Ryan Miller.
No question about it. You're right. You're right 100% there. Hampus Lindholm, the man we call Hampus, will finally meet the Ducks tonight in Columbus and play after securing his visa. It took a lot longer. It was funny because we're joking about.
Yeah, you trumpeted the whole.
I know, and I feel like I jinxed it. I feel like I jinxed it. I mean, it's still much faster than anybody else you would ever say, but it would take months, maybe years. But he's like,
what is Ivanka Trump, his immigration lawyer or something?
Nice, but I'm bumped.
No, but it's just, here's the funny thing about this. Yeah. It seems very subjective, the whole process of securing a visa. It does. Oh, yeah. It just seems very subjective.
It's incredibly subjective. And it's really who you know. Like, I know people who've gone through this situation, and it's really crazy, But anyway, that's that. He is going to be back with the Ducks tonight. I'm sure that's a big boost for them.
That's a big boost for them. It is.
It is. My interesting stat for today is 400. That's my and what is 400? Do we have any idea what 400 is? I don't know why we got why that.
Well, it's not my IQ, but
I don't know why 400 deserved a rim shot, but that's okay. 400 is.
Okay, I pressed the rim shot.
I heard it on X time, and now I forgot. But I heard the 400 milestone. Good.
Claude Julien.
Right, Claude Julien's 400th game.
400th win last night, most in Boston Bruins history. That's something. I mean, the Bruins have been around a long time, so
they have.
That deserves something. And I guess it's time for the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator.
One quick thing though, I did hear an interview with Dan Bylsma at the end of the game. I feel bad for Dan Bylsma. It seems like the stuffing is sort of getting knocked out of him now.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Right.
Oh, I got to touch something else. One other thing I got to touch on that. Maybe before or instead.
Well, I was just going to say right now, the Rochester Americans were not a deep minor league team, and they're probably their top 3 young forwards are up with Baptiste, Bailey, Carrier. They're all up with the Sabres because of injury problems. And, without Eichel, without Evander Kane, you're sort of exposed. They can't.
And Kane's close to coming back this week.
But Eichel is not going to be back probably till at least the first week of December, and they're not going to rush him back. So
they have held. They've managed to hold that 500 record that we talked about.
Agreed.
But it does seem like it's taken a lot out of Bylsma. That's just a personal observation.
Yeah. And the rumors about Evander Kane and the Minnesota Wild that have been out there too, put out by Mike Russo. Other people have mentioned it as well. I've been looking into it, and so far I was told that that's not happening. Now that doesn't say it could never happen.
They have cap trouble, don't they?
They've got big cap trouble, and well, not cap trouble, but they're capped out. I mean, and they feel like they're not in trouble though. They like what they have.
No. You know what I mean though.
Yeah, no, I know. To make a move like that, they're not. do that.
I will throw out a wild scenario here, and it might be off base, but I think it's possible. Since I think the Sabres really want to get rid of Evander Kane, I think they would take back Jason Pominville, even though Jason Pominville has another year longer than Kane does. I think that's how much they would want to get rid of Kane, is to take a Jason Pominville.
I don't think that's crazy. I would think they would, because he was a really good player for them.
Former captain,
the market
Very
likes
popular,
him.
very popular player.
Very popular player. It's not a bad move.
But the Wild like him too, so I don't know. The Wild do like Pominville.
Yeah, he'll be good in the room, as they said.
But he's playing fourth line with them, and he's making almost $6 million.
Yeah, I know that right now, and that's true. That's a good point. But at the same time, I do think that they also see Pominville as a guy that can turn it around, will step it up a time.
Playoff guy, no matter where he's playing on your team.
He can score goal, and he's a good room guy, as we said. And where Evander Kane may not be the best room guy out there.
What I hear.
The Sabres are going to need veteran leaders, because Brian Gianta's contract is up, and I think he's on the verge of retirement. At least he plays that way. At least
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so too. All right, so that's all we have for that. But let's pick a winner for today for the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator. I got a lot of complaints about that we got away from this. People really do like it, so I know what you're thinking. Here we go. Ready? The winner is the Nashville Predators.
Wow. That is an ideal scenario.
Yes, it is.
If the Nashville Predators got the #1 pick and they got a scorer, if they got Nolan Patrick, wow, would that cure some ills for them?
And
I know.
Make Ryan Johansson into your #2 center.
Not right away, but at some point.
Oh no, I agree with you, and that would. They really do need that. They really. That
would be like tremendous, and for Laviolette, it would be unbelievable.
Yeah, if Laviolette's still there,
he has to be. I can't see it going any other way. I mean, influenza has hurt that team more than the team hurting themselves, I think.
No, that's always true, and but the way we do know about Pierre Laviolette is this is his cycle. Like, he's gone through it with other teams, and he is at the point now. Now they are doing some interesting things, the Predators. While we're on, I do have some news about them. I was written down. Here it is. They've recalled Saros.
Yeah, UC Saros. Yeah.
Aberg, and somebody else. See who this?
You mean Pontus Aberg?
Yes. Sorry. So Pontus Aberg, Saros.
Not Pontius Pilate.
Right.
Yeah, UC Saros.
And they've assigned Kevin Fiala and Marek Mazanek to Milwaukee. So
okay.
So that's a little bit of I guess it's more of a swap of
yeah, it's a swap of
young
talent,
players.
I guess. Fiala wasn't scoring at the rate that they'd like, so let him. He's still a young guy. He's only 20, going on 21, so that's fine. Aberg is a bigger physical guy, so he could do something for them. And Saros is a heck of a goalie.
Russ, I'm surprised they haven't given Hamenev a chance yet. Unless
I think what they're waiting for Hamenev is that complete 200-foot game, which was emerging last year, but isn't quite there yet.
I mean, it's sort of like what St. Louis is doing with Barbashev. You got guys who maybe can score but can't the whole game.
And so you don't want to put him in there when they sort of expect something else. Because I got to tell you, like I saw Hamenev over the summer, and his skills and his skating are as good as anybody you want to see.
Oh yeah.
But it's just that other part of his game where they just want it to be right.
Yeah. And he's he is that song from Sesame Street. Hanamanev.
I didn't. Again, I was not a Sesame Street guy. I'm sorry you were.
That's a Benny Hill song.
Oh, I know, but but hey, it was done by
a woman with big boobs should be shoving him in the face of an old man on a park bench.
You ruined it now. You completely ruined this for me.
An old bald short man. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you so much for ruining a real part of my childhood, Ross.
Benny Hill. I don't even think Benny Hill could be on television today. I think people would complain about it.
Yeah,
it was so ridiculous. I mean, I mean, we all loved it. At the time, It was like Benny Hill was like the closest thing we had to Cinemax.
Actually, what's funny? Aberg is the same size as Fiala, 5'11", but he's 200.
What a great transition that was, Russ.
I know, but he's 200 pounds. I thought he was bigger, but he's just stockier. Anyhow,
Benny Hill in Buffalo was on at 11:30 on Sunday nights, right after the news.
no,
Right.
here's how it was for me.
So
There
it's
was-
educational.
On Channel 13, which again for like when you were 12 or 13 years old, we got to watch on a Sunday night Monty Python at like 11 o'clock and Benny Hill at like 11:30, and that was tremendous. I mean, it was tremendous entertainment.
Oh, no question. No, I agree. I mean, that it's so funny. I'm going to show you what I remember. Okay, of this song right now. No. This is what I was talking about, guys. Ready? Here we go. And then we'll get out of here. We'll leave on this. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Here we go.
Yeah.
He's saying Hanamenev.
This is the worst ending to any show ever. This is
Press the off the air.
This is worse than Twin Peaks. This is worse.
Remember, without the buzz.
This is the worst ending, worse than Lost.
Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey.
But the election could be worse tonight.
We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your day.